Alright, so today we are working on this T3 Volkswagen DOKA. It's mid-conversion, so it's already had the motor and controller installed as an Azure Dynamics controller, and part of the battery pack. So the battery pack, we got about half of it under the back seats, and then the other half of it is going to be inside the tunnel here. So there's the other quarter of the pack. Still need to install them into that box, and then it goes in that hole. So our job today is start getting it ready to finish up, and part of that is we're gonna have to pull this Azure Dynamics controller, because it's just it's old news. It's gonna get replaced with a Reinhardt Motion Systems Cascadia Motion PM100, which these are super cool. They don't anodize the new ones, and I think the blue and red looks pretty sweet. So yeah, I'm gonna set up the time lapse and try and pull this controller out. Alright, so we got the DC connections and the phase connections undone on the back side of the controller here. You can see there are a bunch of connectors. Those are for the I/O, throttle input, all the motor connections, the encoder connections, and temperature sensor for the motor, and the programming cable and all the stuff that was set up here, trying to get it running before. So we just disconnected all that. We got the phase wires here, and there's also a junction box down here. So depending on how we're feeling, we may either reuse this or try and redo the wires on that end and make something cleaner for the PM100. So next job is to we got to get down in there, got looks like 4 bolts bolting this down, and that should bring this out. It's air cooled, so it there shouldn't be any hoses or anything going to it. So yep. So we pulled the inverter out of there, the old Azure Dynamics one, and so now we can sort of compare the two. We've got the DMOC 445 is the Azure Dynamics, and looking up the specs on it, it's 100 to 400 volt input, and I think it can do 280 amps RMS on its output. So it's good for 78 kilowatts, I think is what they claim in the manual. Comparing it to the Reinhardt or Cascadia Motion PM100, specs are about the same. It can do a little bit more current, and just look at the size difference. Even if you like all of that is air cooled, But even just comparing the two units, it's, you know, it's kind of a night and day thing. And you know, the cool thing is these are made you know, 20 miles from here. So and we have great support with Cascadia and Reinhardt. So you know, it's sort of a no-brainer for this. All right, so let's see. So I've been spending some time going around, figuring out how the next group of batteries is going to go in here. Need to figure out some way to kind of dress the cables that are up in there, because it's basically impossible to do once the second battery box is in. So kind of cleaning up how they go through that front bulkhead and through the rear bulkhead there, and then kind of how the cables are held up, so that when you slide the drawers out, you don't put too much stress on them, and then when you close them, they don't get pinched or rub on anything. So spent you know, too much time doing that, and then mocked up how the new inverter might go in. The only downside is that the water fittings are on the back side. So to do that, we'd need some 90-degree fittings that come up, and then we can either go kind of forward or backward or across the top to get there. But that makes it easiest for the DC cables to go into the DC ports there, and then put some contactors and pre-charge circuits in, and the main connectors are up here too. So that's kind of, you know, that's nice. And then the phase connections are here, so that'd be a nice clean way to do that. So yeah, it's pretty hot under here, under the tarp. So I think we're gonna call it for today. And there's the other box to put the cells in. So I'm gonna try and figure that out before we get that in and load it in. So yeah, we'll check back in when we have some more progress.